This is why you need to hear my story. I know there are a lot of stories out there, and maybe you've heard some before, but I want to share mine because it's real, it's honest, and it's not what you see in the movies or read in the news. My journey with schizophrenia is just one of many, but I hope that by opening up, I can help break down some of the walls of misunderstanding and fear that surround this diagnosis. Maybe you're here because you're curious, or maybe you're struggling yourself, or you love someone who is. Whatever brought you here, I'm glad you're listening. Schizophrenia is way more common and more manageable than most people think. It's not some rare, mysterious condition that only happens to other people. In fact, about 1 in 100 people will experience schizophrenia at some point in their lives. That means you probably know someone who's living with it, even if you don't realize it. And while it can be tough, it's not a life sentence to misery or isolation. With the right support, treatment, and understanding, people with schizophrenia can and do live full, meaningful lives. I'm living proof of that. Let's talk honestly, zero judgment. First off, hi, I'm your name. I'm not a doctor or a mental health professional. I'm just a regular person who happens to have schizophrenia. I have hobbies, dreams, and a sense of humor. I love music, I binge watch TV shows, and I have a cat who thinks he's the king of the house. I want to show you what my life is really like, not just the hard parts, but the good moments too. Because there are good moments and they matter. If you're new here or just curious, thanks for stopping by. I know it can be intimidating to talk about mental health, especially something as misunderstood as schizophrenia. But I promise, you're in a safe space here. I want to answer your questions, share my experiences, and maybe even challenge some of the things you think you know about this condition. So let's get into it. Schizophrenia gets a lot of things wrong in movies. Hollywood loves to make it look scary or violent, like people with schizophrenia are always dangerous or out of control. But that's just not true. Most of us are more likely to be hurt by others than to hurt anyone else. The reality is a lot less dramatic, but a lot more human. We're people, not plot twists. For me, it means dealing with voices in my head, which can be confusing and sometimes scary. These voices aren't always mean or threatening. Sometimes they're just chatter, like a radio you can't turn off. But other times, they can be critical or try to convince me of things that aren't true. It's not just voices either. Sometimes I see things that aren't there, or I get ideas that don't make sense to anyone else. It can feel like my mind is playing tricks on me, and that's exhausting. Some paranoia, and sometimes feeling totally flat inside. The paranoia can make me question people's motives, even when I know logically that they care about me. It's like a little voice whispering doubts in my ear, making me second-guess everything. And then there are days when I just feel numb, like all my emotions have been turned down to zero. It's not sadness exactly, it's more like emptiness. Those are the hardest days because it feels like nothing matters. But here's the thing, I'm still me, and I'm still living my life. Schizophrenia is just one part of who I am. I still have hopes and goals. I still laugh at silly jokes and get excited about new books. I still have days where I feel proud of myself, and days where I struggle. But I'm here and I'm doing my best. That's all anyone can ask for. Every day I stick to a routine. Meds in the morning, therapy every week, and a few other things that help keep me grounded. My medication isn't a magic cure, but it helps quiet the noise in my head and makes it easier to focus. Therapy gives me a space to talk about what I'm going through, to learn new coping skills, and to remind myself that I'm not alone. It's not always easy, and there are days when I want to give up, but I know that these routines are what keep me moving forward. And little habits like journaling and making my bed, these might sound small, but they give my day structure and help me feel in control. When everything else feels chaotic, having a few things I can count on, like a tidy bed or a few pages in my journal, makes a big difference. I write about my thoughts, my fears, and my victories, no matter how small. Sometimes just getting out of bed and making it is a win. When the voices get loud, I write down what I'm feeling. Sometimes I draw, or I just scribble words until the noise in my head starts to fade. It's a way to get the chaos out and onto the page, where I can see it and start to make sense of it. I've learned that ignoring the voices doesn't work for me, but acknowledging them, without letting them take over, helps me feel more in control. Or do grounding exercises like touching something around me or saying what I see. I might run my fingers over a textured object or name 5 things I can see, 4 things I can touch, 3 things I can hear, 2 things I can smell, and 1 thing I can taste. These exercises help bring me back to the present moment when my mind starts to drift or spiral. It's a way to remind myself that I'm here, I'm safe, and I'm okay. It sounds simple, but it works. These little strategies don't make the symptoms disappear, but they help me manage them. Over time, I've built up a toolkit of things that help me cope: breathing exercises, listening to music, going for a walk, or just sitting quietly with a cup of tea. It's about finding what works for you and being gentle with yourself on the days when nothing seems to help. Support makes a huge difference too. I have a couple of friends I can actually be real with. They don't judge me or try to fix me. They just listen, and sometimes that's all I need. Having people who accept me for who I am, schizophrenia and all, is one of the biggest reasons I'm able to keep going. If you're supporting someone with schizophrenia, know that your patience and understanding mean more than you might realize. And most important, I stopped hiding my diagnosis. For a long time, I was ashamed and afraid of what people would think if they knew. I worried that I'd lose friends, or that people would see me differently. But the more I talked about it, the more I realized that I wasn't alone. There are so many people out there living with mental health conditions, and the only way to fight stigma is to speak up. Now I'm open about my diagnosis, and it's made my relationships stronger and more honest. Schizophrenia is part of me, but it's not all of me. I'm a friend, a sibling, a neighbor, and so much more. I have dreams for the future, and I'm working toward them, one step at a time. I want to travel, to learn new things, to make a difference in the world. My diagnosis doesn't define me. It's just one chapter in my story. If you're struggling, you're not broken and you're not alone. It's easy to feel isolated when you're dealing with something as misunderstood as schizophrenia, but there are people who care and want to help. Reaching out can be scary, but it's the first step toward healing. Whether it's a friend, a family member, a therapist, or a support group, don't be afraid to ask for help. You deserve support and you deserve to feel better. There's help and life can still be good. Recovery isn't about curing schizophrenia, it's about finding ways to live well with it. That might mean medication, therapy, support groups, or just having someone to talk to. It's about celebrating the small victories and not giving up when things get tough. I've learned that it's okay to have bad days as long as I keep moving forward. There's hope, even when it doesn't feel like it. Take care of yourself and each other. If you're living with schizophrenia or any mental health challenge, know that you're stronger than you think. Your story matters and you're not alone. And if you're supporting someone, thank you for being there. Together we can build a world where mental health is treated with compassion, not fear. Keep going. You've got this.